mind leaving us a Google review? Here's a link. And you can count how many times a day you've sent those Google links with your reputation management plan. For us, when we work with somebody, especially if they've got like 100 plus capacity, they're almost full. It takes me probably 2 months to get an individual location to be the top rated center in their place. And this is competing with the big franchises. So if I ask 300 of my families, even past families who had good relationships with us, say, we absolutely loved you guys, please leave us a link or a review on Google, and you make it as convenient as possible for them to go in and leave you a 5-star review. You send 300 of those and 50% of them actually go, you just generated 150 reviews.
Hey guys, it's Erica Scosio here with the Childcare Directors Chair podcast. And if you are wondering how to streamline your outreach for your childcare center, or maybe you're curious about how to turn leads into loyal customers, you do not want to miss today's episode of the Childcare Directors Chair podcast. Why should you even listen to me? Well, I'm going to tell you why. I have had 6 childcare centers and a dance studio. I have been working with families in my community for 25 years. I'm pretty old. I've got grace to show it. But I think it's really important that we use our core values and think about how we are working with our customer. For me here, my values are family, community, passion for teaching, and professionalism. And I love to bring that to the show. Today, we are joined with guest Damian Brooks from Enrollment Pros, all the way on the other side of the country. I'm here in Little Rhodey, and he is all the way over in Nevada, Las Vegas area. So welcome to the show, Damian.
Erica, thank you so much. It is a major blessing to be here, and I'm excited for our topic today.
Yeah. So Damian and I are in a community group together. It's actually Damian's community group on Facebook. And he was talking to folks about like what their challenges are. And for most folks right now, they're really struggling with enrollment. So we just thought, let's talk about what we know. He comes from very much that automation, streamlining, getting those operations together. And, I'm all about the heart and the people. So we're going to see how we merge those things together to get you the best success for your childcare center. So before we do that, Damian, tell folks a little bit about yourself.
Well, there's a lot to share, but I'll try and keep it brief. My name is Damian Brooks. I was born and raised in Las Vegas, Nevada. I am a Marine Corps veteran. I used to fly on airplanes as an enlisted crew chief in the Marines. That led me into a career of digital marketing once I got out of the military. And doing that for about 10 years now has led me to working in the ECE space because of our own family's journey and the experiences we had in looking for quality care and looking for somewhere where we got that good feeling to put our baby. And after getting into this space, my partner and I have since then become part owners of a center in Las Vegas. We've helped, I think we're over like 35, almost 40 new centers that we've helped in just 2024 alone. And we're now starting to work with associations and government agencies as well with things like rolling out UPK, Universal Pre-K.
It's coming, so we need to be prepared.
Yeah.
So I love that you even popped that in there because as private child care facilities, we're at a point now where we have to decide whether we are going to collaborate with the universal pre-Ks or are we going to compete with them. So that's only something that you can answer in your heart and in your mind what you want to do with that. But it's here, so you can decide. So let's talk about, you've helped so many centers. What do you feel is the number one thing that people are doing now or can do to attract more families to their child care center?
I want to talk about, and I say this with as much love as possible, that there's an old way and a new way of doing things. We're rapidly changing at the time of recording this, where subsidies are starting to dry up from the pandemic relief plans. States are starting to roll out universal pre-K. And with all these new factors in our industry, we can't keep doing the same thing of just posting on our personal page saying, hey, we've got some openings, or even posting on your business page saying, hey, we've got some openings. Parents now are more connected and able to do research than ever before. So they're always trying to look for information on what's best for their family. And when they look at your page and every other post is, oh, we've got 2 spots open. Hey, we've got a spot open. They're going to feel like they're being cattled or corralled into some type of like money farm. And that's not what your center is about. It's not what anybody gets into this for. Nobody gets an MBA and says, I'm going to open a preschool because I want to be a billionaire. But a lot of times we're doing this for the passion and for the love of developing young minds. And we want to be that pivotal influence and help that family raise just an awesome kid. So what we have to do now is start to use the resources and the tools that parents appreciate. And I'm going to dive into what those look like in a little bit, but we cannot just keep relying on hoping and praying that by posting that they find us and that by hopefully people just refer us out of the kindness of their heart. Usually we have to ask them, sometimes nicely, and I'll show you how we've done that, how we generate reviews um, as we get on in this recording. But that's the biggest one I'm seeing is people are stuck saying, I can keep doing what I've been doing. I made it through the pandemic, but things
Mhm.
are different after 2020.
They definitely are. I think one of the cool things about this conversation is I have been blessed enough to be through two recessions and the pandemic in my time of owning a childcare center. I also have a lot of skills and things beyond the digital space because there was no social media when I first started, right? And I do think there was an option three, right? So you can do it the old way, the new way, or blend them together in a way that feels good, still fits your brand, and you're able to get that message out to folks in a way where they are. Because, of course, they're on, I mean, there's not one person that isn't on this phone 12 times a day, right? We all do it. We all scroll, all those things. But at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, we're going to go to places where other people that we know, that we trust, give us referrals. So like you said, so yes, there's word of mouth, but there's also Yelp, there's Bing, there's all those places that people
A
are gonna
hundred
are
percent.
gonna are gonna look. So you have to make sure that that also looks good and reflective of your brand. So let's get into the tips right now. How are we gonna track, right? Okay, you say let's switch it up. Let's not do it the old way of just posting on your Facebook page. Because the other thing that's really funny is they have to know about your center to even see that post. So if I don't even know the name of your center, I'm not going to even find you on your Facebook post. I have to actually be following your
A
page to even
hundred
see
percent.
that post. So maybe when
A
you're
hundred
putting
percent.
something together like that, maybe you're addressing that post to the families that you currently serve or previously served and say, hey friends, we know you love our program. Can you tell your friends about us? We have two spots, right? So it's again, it's that
Mm-hmm.
blend of speaking to your current customer to help you find your next customer. So that's word of mouth, whether it's digital or in person at the playground, right?
And with what you just said, you actually already hit the nail on the head with one of the first key concepts that we have to usually address when working with the center, and that's you have to know who you're talking to when you're making these pieces of content. If it's for people who already know, like, and trust you, i.e., the people who follow you on Facebook, they follow your Instagram, they're already on your email list, they know you exist. So we shouldn't be talking to them as if they don't know that we exist. Um, and I see it all the time where people will go on their pages and they'll post as if they're talking to strangers and not to people who already love what they've done for their family and you've made huge impacts and improvements in their child's life where it's almost tone deaf, where it's like, these people know you, and if you're always trying to sell to them and tell them about these
Mm-hmm.
and everything is about, oh, spots are open, this and that, it's totally fine. Um, but one thing that we have to address is what is your plan to talk to people who don't know who you are, right? And there's so many channels for that. Even if we go old school, you got the print magazines, the radio, the events where there's going to be a lot of foot traffic in your community. You've got billboards, so many opportunities there. But I've been specializing in the online space where we use things like Google advertisements, Facebook ads, sometimes even TikTok advertisements. They have a really robust system now for targeting the right people, getting that message to them when it matters, i.e., like a parent who's looking for care. And with those things, you can now talk to strangers, and your messaging should be very different. So know who you're talking to and at what stage of the customer journey they're at, because that alone usually you find your enrollments right there. Just knowing how to talk to strangers, how to talk to people who already follow you, And then how to talk to your super advocates, the people who absolutely love you guys. Like they would wear a shirt with your name on it every day if you gave it to
Hmm.
them. All of them, we should have a separate communication plan because it is a people game, and you got to put the people first.
You have to cultivate those relationships, and you do that through, like you said, if you're on your Facebook, of course you're going to continue to market to your families, but it doesn't look like marketing. It's like, we really enjoy, like we just had open house yesterday, right? So we really, thank you so much for everybody who came out to our open house. We appreciate you being part of our school community because you're staying at top of mind. Because there have been, and I will tell
Hmm.
you this, I've had people who their children are already enrolled in childcare centers, who have left their childcare center, who have come to us. And not because I'm definitely not the newest, the brightest, the shiniest. Actually, I probably have one of the older preschool buildings on the block. I mean, I'm very honest about that. But people know when they come, they immediately feel the culture of our school as soon as you come in for a tour, right? So it's
Oh yeah.
understanding what your culture is. I'm just talking, from my perspective, because that's the only place I can talk from is, honesty.
100.
The ads then funnel into my phone, and now I make the next step, which will be one or two things. I'm either going to call as a customer, or I'm going to check out your website, right? So let's talk about those
Yeah.
those pieces.
I love these in the marketing space and any best practices. This is where we call it a conversion. When we're converting somebody from one step to the next, and what I love about it is that there's always a number. So I know that if I'm running a really good Facebook ad, I want to see anywhere from 2.5% of people will click onto my advertisement or click the link to go to our website. So for every 100 people who see it, there's like 2 to 3 families who say, actually, this does resonate with me. This is something I'm interested. I'm going to click the button. And there's so many options for once they click a button. Do they go to your website? Do they just fill out a form on Facebook ads? Because Facebook, you can have them send you contact info without ever even going to your website. And we do that sometimes if you need a lot of leads. But we found too that if you send them to your website, and we've got some really key features or things that are on your website. I always do this with our marketing audits, but here's some ideas for your website to make sure that you do get the most bang for your buck. And the first one is that when I log into your page or when I open it, without ever scrolling, the first thing I see is called an impact page. And on the impact page, I want to see a single, very simple to understand call to action. Now, you've got to remember who is on your website right now. These are people who probably don't know you that well. They've probably never been into your center. And if you just met somebody on the street, you wouldn't just say, like, here's some enrollment paperwork, go ahead and pay your fee and we'll see you on Monday. So
No.
why a lot of people do this on their website. I see
Yeah.
it all the time where people are like, there's just a big button that says enroll now. I love the enthusiasm, but you have to be speaking to them at the, like, you have to understand what stage they're at in this buying process or in the enrollment process. So what I usually love to see is just a simple schedule a tour option. You can use Calendly, there's paid options, there's certain CRMs that allow parents to tell you what day they want to come in to tour your facility, meet with the director, meet with the teachers, and see how their baby does. I won't get into the operations of like when you should schedule them. It's different, just like you said, with your culture. If you want to do it during nap time, if you want to do it after hours, that's up to you guys. But just the first step on your website, there should be a simple button for them to take that next step, which is schedule a tour. I also love to see videos just explaining your mission, vision, values, your culture. What is your teaching philosophy? How do you handle developing these young minds? So 2 out of 100 people went to your website after tens of thousands. Okay, cool. We got some hundreds of people. What percent of them actually go through, fill out that book a tour? I want to see at least 2%. If I know you're at 2% again, you're doing really good. So it's that funnel. These are the things that a lot of people don't think about. They just make their website and they say, put an enrollment button. That sounds cool. But is
Mhm.
that the appropriate place for an enrollment button? Maybe that should show up in an email after the tour if they didn't enroll on the spot saying, hey, we loved having you. Here's a limited time offer. Click this button to enroll. So that's just my first step, right? When we talk about advertisements to your website, what do you want them to do after that? So, Erica, hearing this, where do you want to take that one? Because I know that with your multiple
You
locations, you've got
you
people.
unpacked a lot of things there. He shared so many wonderful tips there. So number one, I want to talk about website really quickly. So not all websites are created equal. You have to make sure you have a good website, right? and looking at that conversion. And if you don't know how to look at the conversion, you have to work with your web designer so that you're able to pull a report so you know whether it's converting. If it's not converting, you've got to switch something up. It's not speaking to people. That's number one. You really want to blow
Hmm.
people's socks off? Pick up the phone. I can't tell
Yes.
you how many people that I call and say, "Hey, this is Erica from blank, blank, blank. And I saw you just sent in a tour request. I'd love to give you more information." And I will just build that relationship right there. So many of you are not doing that. Or you're calling them days later. Most people, if you don't have a spot, you're just not returning people's calls. I'm going to tell you right now, that is the worst thing you can do for your business. So even if I don't get somebody, right? Like if I have a wait list, which I do, and by the way, my centers are usually at 100% capacity. Right now, I would say maybe 98%. That's crazy, I know, but it's very consistent. But these are things that we use and we do, and it can help people, which is why I'm sharing it. Pick up the phone. If you're competing with me and your center's next door to me, you're not going to win because I'm going to call that customer. I'm going to cultivate that relationship. I'm going to give you a rate over the phone. I'm not going to do this whole, you have to come in before. No, I'll tell you whatever you want over the phone. I'm very, very comfortable with that, very confident with that. And you have to be the same for your center. You have to know exactly what you offer that's different, unique, and special, why people should come to you. And again, if you answer the phone, there's kids screaming in the background, and you're like, yeah, I don't know if we have spots, I'll call you later. Oh, you've already lost. You've lost. And the other thing, that you had said, the timeliness of it, it's okay to also call them and say, hey, I got your email. I would love to talk with you. What are the best 2 days? What are the best 2 times? I'll send you an email, and then you
Exactly.
follow up, right? I don't send a
These
bot.
just
Now,
people skills.
no, I don't send a bot, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I've talked to many people who use them successfully. You have to understand, though, you cannot 100% count on just the automation. It's the two things
No way.
together. So the bot will respond quicker than I can most times, but you have to follow up with the people part. You have to, because people are going to make
Yeah.
those connections with that,
100%.
right? And I love what you
Yes.
said too about having video on your website. I think that is speaks volumes. We have video on ours. And the other thing is the reason I say get them to your website is social media is very busy. So if the quicker I
Hmm.
can get them off of social media into where now all the noise has been shut out and it's just me and them and I'm giving my message, the better. Right? If they're still staying on
100%.
social, they might put their name in, and guess what? They may also get five other centers that market them during that period that they're on the phone. Right?
Oh
So
yeah.
those are just some of my thoughts because I really am here to help other people, right? I don't own a marketing company. I don't have my MBA in marketing. I just have 25 years of experience of what I know works. Yeah, and then I think the other thing too is taking care of the folks you have. And as people grow out of your program,
Oh
still keep connected with them. Keep connect, especially if
yes.
they had an amazing experience or during graduation when people are excited and everybody feels good and maybe the kid's graduating out of your program. That doesn't happen at mine because I set up my program where kids just roll in to my after school program. But a lot of preschools, they stop at age 5. People feel great at graduation. That's a great time to tap in and say, we loved having your child for the last 5 years. Would you mind writing us a review? They're happy. They're in a great place. And you literally have a video thing set up right there. They can pop right on and give you a review right
Right
there.
there.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know you
100%.
know this, right? Yeah. You're the expert, but
Oh
these are just
no.
things.
They need to
These
hear
are
it.
just, we're just ripping off the band-aid, guys, because I see it every day in the Facebook groups, as do you, Damien, that people are really struggling with enrollment. And guys, yes, there's challenges. There's competition in every industry. I don't know any industry there isn't competition, right? Well, maybe the utility people around here, but for the most part, there's competition in every industry, right? You have to adapt. And I think that's,
Yeah.
what you're trying to say. Get
100%.
strategic. How do you use the digital age? Because that's where people are. Our customers are online. They are on social media. To me, that ad is the thing that draws them and say, what is this? And then the rest is up to you. You've got to do, even if they sign
100%.
up, how are you retaining them? If not, it's a hamster wheel of enrolling, 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 enrolling. And if you constantly are telling your parents that you're always enrolling, 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 they're gonna start wondering why you're always enrolling, enrolling. Where are your customers going?
You start to question, like, well, how come, or if they put in their 30, 60-day notice, whatever, and you instantly put up a post that is like, we have a new spot for this age, it's like, oh, I
Yeah,
thought we had something
irreplaceable.
special. And
You're
that's what
nothing.
parents want to feel. But I would love to talk about what in the automation space, what we do to
Yeah,
make it work and still make it personable. I totally agree with you that you cannot automate all of this. And that's such a
sure.
struggle sometimes when people come to us saying, I want automation help. I'm like, I can't automate your life. You can't just sit my ties on the beach while the computer does your childcare.
Yeah,
Can't automate
Damien.
all this. It's impossible. You have to do the work. If you don't do the work, I promise you nothing will work. So what that actually looks like when it comes to taking control of your messaging to strangers and parents that are looking for care is one, just know who you're talking to when you're advertising, when you're posting on organic channels, when you're building your website. You're talking to people who are mostly doing research. It's not like your parents who've been there for 2, 3 years that are going to your website every day to figure something out. Maybe they'll go for a blog post or something, but realistically, it's new enrollments coming to your page. Now, when they fill out a form, a lot of parents want to see some type of instant gratification. So let's say they submit an inquiry or they fill out a web chat on your website. We have a couple options. And I have these things called business hour filters, where if it's during business hours, I have a different type of message than if it's not. And it's not necessarily perfectly aligned with how our days go because I know that, hey, the last 2, 3 hours of the day, our enrollment specialist might be busy doing something else. So this is what it looks like. Somebody fills out a form on our website at night because they're working hard, they're up late on their phone, just put the babies down. We know they've got preschool age children or younger, nursery age, whatever. They're not getting a lot of sleep. Cool, they're scrolling on their phone. They filled out your form on your website. If they have to wait until sometimes people don't get to their replying people till like 1 p.m. the next day, it's like we've had 12 hours where this person's filled out a form and heard nothing from you. If I needed to hear from you because I'm trusting you with my baby, I kind of want to know that there's something where, like, did they even get my message? I don't know. It's actually after business hours, but you can expect a call from us tomorrow between these hours, or you can just reply to this text message with any questions you have. And as soon as we get on this line, we'll answer whatever questions you have. There is a little bit of automation here, but it's because we've got our stuff together. We've got systems. And then if it's during business hours, we'll say, hey, you got us during business hours. You should expect somebody to, reach out within the next couple hours. If you don't hear from us, just go ahead and give us a call at this number. And they want to be a good customer. They want to do good, but it is our job to tell them what that looks like so that they can do good. Nobody wants to be the headache parent before they've ever even enrolled. Let me know ahead of time so I know to like maybe not follow up with this person. Because you know how it is. If we're marketing on the internet, some people, you're talking to strangers on the internet. You don't want
Yeah.
everybody, you don't want 100% conversion rate because not everybody should be in your care.
Yep.
Those are what the automations will look like. Once we've booked a tour, they get an automated, hey, your tour is confirmed for this date at this time. If you need anything or need to make changes, give us a text or an email or a call with all these different ways of contacting us. And then what we'll do is about 12 hours before the tour or 24 hours before or an hour before, we send other automated reminders that just say, hey, this is just a friendly reminder. But just like you said, I'll always train our clients to say, pick up the phone the day before, pick up the phone as soon as they book the tour. And what we always teach them is just ask more questions. So my
Yeah.
specific questions that I always love to teach, I'll give these ones away. I say, tell me what's going on. And they'll tell you everything you usually need to know to find the enrollment somewhere. Or tell
Yeah.
them, hey, why childcare now? It's just a 3-word, 4-word, depending on where in the world you are, a
Hmm.
question that says, why childcare and why now? And what you'll find is that they will tell you everything that you need to know if you just practice active listening skills. They'll tell you their schedule. They'll tell you why they decided to fill out a form on your website. Repeat it back to them, and they will take those next steps. So those are our tips on how we use automations to keep it personable and not like, oh, it's just a complete robot just talking to somebody. But we will automate sending a online version of a parent handbook before the tour. We'll automate a couple videos, like a message from our founder. and I'll say, hey, this is Erica. This is what she believes in. This is why she started providing care and why she got into ECE. So we know like what percent are likely to convert. But those are the steps that people don't mind that part being automated. And in fact, we found most parents appreciate it because it makes them feel like your organization has their systems in place. I can trust you with my kids because I know you probably got a system for that. And that's where we come from. It's possible, but it doesn't get good results.
Yeah, I think those are all great tips. And you do try to make the automation as personal as possible. And it's funny because a lot of what you said there is a lot of what I do in my follow-up email after I talk to somebody. I send them an email and I say, it was nice talking to you, Janice, about your son, Johnny, when you pull in our parking lot, because we have multiple doors. So you don't want it to
Yeah.
be stressful when they come. Here's where you park,
Mhm.
here's where you go, ring the bell. We're expecting you, or you'll be meeting with Haley or Leah or whatever. Yeah, we try to make that personal. And you're right. Definitely I have worked with quite a few millennials out there who really love a good text. They do prefer that over a phone call, so that is true. My niece Jaleesa is too, and she loves a good text, just quick, she's very atypical. So quick, here's the info and in and out. So yeah, there are all different types of customers for sure, and they're all going to have their little preferences. So just do what feels right. But I guess at the
Yeah.
end of the day, what we're saying is you got to be responsive. You got to be responsive and
Oh
transparent,
yeah.
and that will be, you're setting the stage. So let's talk about, let's say you've got them in the door. All the systems have worked. What are your tips about how you market to your current customers and keep them, to become
Ooh.
loyal customers?
I love this part. So let's say when I usually work with the center, we always start with something we call a quick cash campaign. But usually you have so much goodwill in your community if you can retain students longer than like 3 months. That's a good sign. If you struggle with keeping families past 3 months, you probably need some other help besides automations and whatnot. But there's two things that I do here. Yeah, I'm a marketer. I'm not your marketer at this point. But what happens is we use a mix of automations and some in-person cues to reinforce good behavior from our families. This is just good business, and they'll actually appreciate you for it. What we'll first and foremost do is we'll find our biggest advocates, the people who like they are lost in the sauce. They love you guys. They want to tell all their friends. They want everybody to know how many amazing milestones that your center helped their child achieve, right? Now, what will happen is we first and foremost just going to ask them for reviews. And this is a numbers game. Even though it's a people's game, it is a numbers game because if you get into sales, if you get into marketing, you'll understand it's nothing but numbers. And what we'll do is with a personable outreach, we'll say, Erica, your baby has been doing so good under our care. Congrats again on whatever it is. Usually, if you have like ages and stages or some type of tracking for your curriculum, you'll know what milestones they're hitting. When the baby takes their first steps and you got it on video and put it on your Brightwheel account is a great time to follow up with a text saying, we've absolutely loved having your daughter in our care. Would you mind leaving us a Google review? Here's a link. And you can count how many times a day you've sent those Google links with your reputation management plan. For us, when we work with somebody, especially if they've got like 100 plus capacity, they're almost full. It takes me probably 2 months to get an individual location to be the top rated center in their place. And this is competing with the big franchises. So if I ask 300 of my families, even past families who had good relationships with us, say, we absolutely loved you guys. Please leave us a link or a review on Google, and you make it as convenient as possible for them to go in and leave you a 5-star review. You send 300 of those and 50% of them actually go, you just generated 150 reviews. And I promise you, in most places
Mm-hmm.
in the continental United States, if I
Shut
look
up.
up a preschool near me, they don't even have 100 reviews. And we've done this on average with dozens of centers where I'm like, just the first thing to do, let's get you to become the top rated school in your city. What does that look like? Send 300 text messages. You can automate that part and parents won't mind. You
Mm-hmm.
could do it manually. You could put a QR code on your front desk. Now, with
Mm-hmm.
the front desk, and if I don't have as much control over who I'm asking, I'll give you one other super secret squirrel trick that we use. And before I send them straight to my Google listing to leave a review, and I don't know what they're going to say, they're a loose cannon. I'm going to just put a simple landing page that says, "How has your recent experience been with us?" and there's only two buttons. There's a smiley face and there's a sad face. If they click the smiley face, then we forward them to Google to leave their review. If they click the sad face, we forward them to an internal
Email.
feedback form that gets sent
Yeah.
directly to the director and to the owner to say, here's some feedback from an unhappy family. And
Mm,
what that'll do is save your online reputation because they'll still feel heard, but they won't feel so desperate to be heard that they're like, I've got to leave a
mhm.
negative review or else they won't listen to me. So
Yeah.
we remove our ego and we just say, look, if you click the smiley face, leave us an internal comment on what was your experience. Please be as descriptive as possible. Tell me what,
Mhm.
when, who, why, how you felt. What color was it? What color was the sky that day? And then you can go back in and use that for professional development. But we don't want that on Google because you can't get rid of those.
Yeah.
So that's one of
Yeah.
our reputation management tricks. And then we have so many more for like, how do you effectively ask everybody for a referral? How do you make it worth their time for them to go out and use their goodwill with their sphere of influence to vouch for you? Because that means they're putting their name on the line too. So you've got to be aware of these things. And it's just a part of that customer journey. You go from a stranger to a student to a happy customer to an advocate or an ambassador who now brings you more customers. And if you maintain a system for each of those steps, I mean, you'll stay fully enrolled. You'll be able to open multiple locations. You'll open a new one confidently, and
Mhm.
your job is just to provide really good care, and you're not stuck in the tech and in the weeds of all these things.
So that was all super, super great advice, and I think very, very clever. One thing I would say is I love feedback forms. And as I had said earlier, we had our open house last night. And so the teachers were meeting with all the parents. And one of the things that I did is as I walked around and, thanked everybody for coming, I would say to them, hey, is there anything else we can do better? How are things going? Especially when we have families that just started with us in September, how are things going? Are the staff responding? And they always laugh and like, oh, everything's great. But just even that, planting that seed that I am listening, I want to hear, like I'm open to your feedback. So doing that,
Oh
also
yeah.
having quarterly parent meetings, when you do those things and you invite people, we have like an advisory board, even though we're a for-profit, we have an advisory board. And so when you're connecting with your customers on a regular basis, things don't escalate to the point where I'm so angry I want to go write a bad review. Because of course we lose
Mm,
socks at our school
yeah.
too. But you don't find that on my Google review. It
Right.
it happens. So the
Yeah.
more responsive and transparent you are, and the more that people can see that you care, right? And this is where that blend is of old school and new school coming together. So you use these systems, like he just pointed out here, that you can get those feedback forms sent to you directly so you can take care of that before it snowballs into a much bigger problem, right? And then just making that
Hmm.
part of your regular practice. So you're asking in person, you're asking online, you're providing multiple ways to get feedback from your customers at all times, I think is good. So is there
Yes, ma'am.
anything, yeah, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you really think folks should know?
I love that question. Thank you. There's so much to tackle. What I would recommend is at least just learning the language so that you can have educated conversations about things like your KPIs, your marketing, right? KPIs is key performance indicators. I know everybody listening to this probably already knows what that means, but here's some examples as well, just to solidify that knowledge where hey, a great KPI to maybe track is how many people did we ask digitally for a review this month? Did we send 30 review requests? The softwares and the systems that we use do all of this as well. So we say, put these people on a review generation campaign, send them some emails, send them some text messages, follow up with them in person. Because we can also automate to where the front desk is told, like, hey, remind Erica that we sent her an email asking for a review or asking for feedback. And you should know how many times it's happened a month. Because if it's zero, you know it's just not happening. If it's 100 and you're not getting any results, you know something's not happening right in the system. These will reflect in things like your retention, month to month, year to year, the average amount of time that your families are staying. If you start tracking these numbers online or in a spreadsheet, you now are empowered to have educated conversations and use data driven results thinking to say, this is the number that I see that sticks. Usually there's always some numbers that stick out to us. If I'm like, how many new contacts did you get this month? How many new leads, inquiries? How many new families? They would say, oh, I don't know. I'm like, the answer is probably maybe it's one or two, but it's usually zero. Or you've just got sticky notes on your desk with people who never got followed up with, and we gotta do it a little bit differently to do right by, especially like you said, with millennials and the younger generation that are we're having kids. It is now so important to communicate with them in a way that they appreciate and is most convenient. Not just convenient for you, but most convenient for them, because that's what it takes to build that lasting relationship and make it easy for them to become a customer. I mean, we're charging, if a baby comes to you from nursery through all the way through preschool and maybe an after school program, we just sold you a $200,000 product. Yeah, it might be
Mm-hmm.
spread out over 7 years, but I mean, if you're financing a $200,000 car anyways, you're probably paying it for a couple of years. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to approach our business and every enrollment with that same level of care. It's almost like white glove service, and it's very hard to
Mm-hmm.
do if you're doing it manually. That's the only thing that I think I would really love to stress to any listeners out there. Um, with us at Enrollment Pros, we come in and we work with centers at all different levels. At the moment, we don't work with in-home just because usually you need a lot of seats and a larger capacity for these systems to really even be worth your while.
Mm-hmm.
But especially if you're hovering around that 7,500 plus capacity range, it's time to get those systems in place. It's time to get this off of your plate so that way you know it works consistently and you know that it's working for you around the clock. And then you can go enjoy your conferences, your seminars, your vacations, your masterminds in the Bahamas, or your masterminds in Las Vegas. That's when those things happen. So, I mean, Erica, again, thank you for those. I feel like there's so much we could go on about, but like I want to keep it
Yeah.
nice and simple.
So he said a few things that I really loved. All of that I agree with. So speaking of conferences, I did not pay you to say that. So we have our first conference coming up, run by myself and Noel from the Directors Club. We have a conference coming up in April, so I can't wait to unleash all that info for all of you. So that's super exciting. If you are still stuck, okay, I'm here to help. Go to text the show. I will answer your questions. I can do another episode for you. Or if you want to give me a phone call, give me a phone call. Phone number is right on my website. You can visit our new website, which is super cool. I love it. It's www.childcaredirectorschair.com. And as always, remember, it's the small details that make a big impact in the success of your childcare business. That's all for today.